Hey everyone, this is Steve Good, and welcome back to the Coin Chat. Back again with Yuri, and today we're talking about... What are we talking about?
Today we're talking about mining. It's good to be back, Steve. Thank you so much for that one.
I'm so glad I know what we're talking about in advance. It's good to see that I'm prepared and ready to go.
Exactly.
So clearly, you're going to throw lots of questions at me, and much like my belligerent nature with Chaz, I'm going to do the same thing with you and just be tough and fun-natured, and let's have a good time. So when you're ready, what are we going to...
So yes, before we start with mining, of which I have many questions, I think it's right to help our listeners out by doing a couple of corrections from our previous episodes. So first and foremost, your vacuum cleaner. I believe that
cleaner.
Your steam cleaner. I apologize.
That would be a correction on a correction zone.
It is a double correction
zone. My steam cleaner is not a Dyson. I am sorry. All the women out there that have called me out on it, it is not a Dyson. They are correct. Dyson does not make steam cleaners. It is a Black & Decker, and it is still super awesome. My little 3-year-old decided to draw on the wall with some pens, and I actually did take your advice, Yuri, and I tried it out with the little hand glove steam thing, and it was gone. So this is not a plug for Dyson or for Black & Decker, but my God, the Black & Decker steamer is brilliant.
Excellent. And then I believe something about we had another correction about Riot Blockchain.
Right. So in a previous episode, we were talking about an ETF that was out there for something in crypto, and the correction is that actually there's a company that's gone public called Riot Blockchain, which is really focused on two things. One is they've got an investment management strategy where they're investing in various companies in cryptocurrency world that are focusing on the decentralized world. They've got a couple of different investments, but none of those investments are companies that are doing ICOs. They're just investments in projects that are doing things in blockchain and decentralization. So the second thing that they do is they also have launched some sort of a mining component to their business, but they are a publicly listed company on NASDAQ in the US called Riot Blockchain. So it's good to see that there's more than one investment you can make in the crypto world now in the stock market.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you so much for those two very important updates.
Now, if I recall correctly, I think you had an update for me about trying to spend Bitcoin. Am I mistaken on that, or is that correct?
No, that's correct. I recently tried to do it while traveling this last week, and I did it at the airport at the Delta Skylab.
Oh my God!
I think it's Sky Lounge, and
right.
Okay, so it didn't help that my girlfriend was sick and wanted me to shut up about it. So I went and chatted with the bartender about it, and as it turns out, we didn't actually need any money anyway. So they didn't go so well, but I had a brief conversation with the bartender while she was making hot toddies about what Bitcoin is and whether or not it's possible. Again, she had no idea what I was talking about, and it was kind of a moot point. I also brought it up at the end to the main people at the Sky Lounge, and again, they had no idea what I was talking about. And when I asked if I could just pay for the remainder of a couple of things with Bitcoin, they looked at me blankly and they said, I have to contact Delta customer service for that. So
you should have made them call Delta customer service just to see what kind of reaction you might have gotten.
I should have. I probably should have included it because at the same time I was tweeting at Delta customer service for another issue because they didn't get my TSA pre-check included in my ticket for like the second time. So they were not on my good list on that. So that was my attempt at the Cincinnati airport, and it did not go well. But
you should tweet to Delta and let them know that Expedia accepts Bitcoin. So why is it that they can't seem to cope?
I should do that. I'm going to add that to my list of things to start tweeting at Delta this week.
It's what Chaz and I spoke about a couple of episodes ago. So, it's still relevant.
Yeah, definitely. So what about yourself? I know you
Well,
always like to
I
bring
did
it
attempt to buy. I tell you what, I did attempt to buy something with Bitcoin, and it was a much, much larger item. But I'm not going to tell you on this episode because the Cincinnati episode's a good one. I'm going to wait till next week. I'm going to tell you then about this large ticket item I tried to buy and the epic fail. It was epic. And yeah, I'm going to save that for next week. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's all right. That's all right. That's exciting. And I'm going to be on pins and needles waiting until. All right. So if that's the case, then let's jump in today's topic on mining.
Cool.
So from the beginning, what is cryptocurrency mining?
Right. So, we've talked about this in various other episodes and bits and pieces. So just to kind of do a recap, the whole process of validating a transaction is effectively done in a decentralized world. Lots of computers are out there running and operating that are running these transactions through the network. Now, the fact that the computers are out there does require someone to maintain them, and those people are called the miners, or the group of computers that are pooled together is called a mining pool, because you're pooling together as many resources as you can collectively in order to do two things. One is to validate transactions taking place, but of course, much the way that a bank takes fees for transactions that you do, the mining pools are taking fees, transaction fees that run through for every transaction as well. That, by the way, is not determined by the miners. It is determined by the network itself of that particular coin. So Bitcoin has its protocol, and Ethereum has its protocol, and other coins have their own protocol. And that's determined by the way that the process actually works. The miners can't just turn around and say, we're going to jack the price up. I mean, there are some mechanisms that seem to cause the price to shift up and down quite radically when the network gets clogged up. But that's really kind of by the by. So the whole mining process is really just a settlement and confirmation process that's done globally. So it's decentralized. There's no one place that you go to get the transaction done.
Okay. So when somebody's thinking about mining, is it a safer bet to think about mining, let's say, at home as a way to make extra income, or is it a way to just like hobby kind of level of income? I guess I'm trying to figure out in the beginning, someone who's just starting out, are they like, yes, this is like my second job, I'm going to make it rich off of doing mining?
I would have thought that if somebody had wanted to make either really serious passive income or had wanted to really, make this their primary income, they probably should have started some time ago.
Okay.
And the reason being is mostly because the main, and it's not to say you can't still make money on it, because you can make a lot of money on it. Mm-hmm. The main issue just has to do with the cost, the investment that's required to get started, and the volume of equipment you need to have. And when you start to look at how many pieces of equipment you need to have and how much electricity and power supply it takes, it probably doesn't make sense to do this at home for most people. They probably don't have the space. They probably don't have the electrical capacity in their homes. Their fuse boxes probably can't handle it. But it certainly has some form of passive income to make a couple $100 a month, couple $1,000 a month. It is possible with an investment. So at the low end, it's around, let's say, $2,500, maybe $3,000 investment for a small mining rig. And at the upper end, there's really, kind of sky's the limit. It depends how big you want to make your mine. And there are ways to work out roughly how much you'll make. It's not, an absolute, but there's some calculations you can run. And, the limitations are really your home, your electricity, your fuse box, the cost of your electricity in your home, and physical space, and of course the heat that it generates. And the flip side is, of course, you want it to be cool enough at the same time. So there are some temperature constraints you have to think about as well. So there are other factors, but for passive income, and I'm not talking about to, replace your salaries for most people, but there are certainly ways to get started and make some income.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So in looking at mining, I want to break it down in a couple different areas, and let's start off with the easiest. So somebody with limited technical expertise, if they wanted to get involved in mining, what is the easiest way they could do that?
So that's a great question. There are a couple of ways, and here's the thing. I've tried just about all of these different mining programs myself, because what's the best way to know it than to try it? So
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, there's two that I found that are on the easy end of really easy. There's one that's called Genesis Mining. And Genesis Mining has got to be the simplest one out there. Not the best in terms of returns, but the simplest. So with Genesis Mining, all you do is you basically sign up and you say, here's how much money I want to pay. And they tell you roughly how much return you're going to get on that money. And you're effectively borrowing a certain amount of mining power minus whatever fees they're taking out. But they're guaranteeing some sort of minimum amount of payback. But, it's not the most efficient model, but it's certainly one of the easiest models. And that one really requires absolutely no intervention or very little intervention. They'll do most of the work for you, almost like a full outsourced service.
Okay.
The second one I found, which I tend to like quite a lot more, is called MinerGate. Now, MinerGate is really cool because it allows you to basically do passive mining on your laptop or home PC, and whether or not you have the right kind of graphics card in your PC, you can still do some form of mining on what's called the CPU rather than the GPU. So the CPU is what sits on the motherboard that makes your PC work. Now, the downside to using your CPU is if you burn your CPU out, your PC's gone. But on the upside, you're able to still do some minimal mining. The flip side is if you have GPUs, which are the graphics cards like the NVIDIA and the AMD graphics cards in your PC, then just running this piece of software from MinerGate, it will basically recognize how many CPUs, well, obviously not many people have more than one CPU, but it'll look at and notice how many CPU and GPU are in your machine, and then you can allocate how much of the capacity from that PC you want to assign, click play, and that's about it. And it allows you to kind of toggle between a number of different coins very, very simply. But interestingly, it also has an algorithm where it recognizes which coins have the best paybacks. And I mean, that is really the best form of kind of passive income of doing nothing other than the electricity it's just taking from your PC. But the software itself is pretty simple and pretty easy. There's another competitive product called NiceHash Miner that you can also download that does some similar things. But NiceHash is a slightly different, more technical arena. So MinerGate and Genesis by far the easiest for just the novice to get started.
Sure. So with MinerGate, so you technically can, like if you have a laptop, you can mine with your laptop?
Yeah, you can.
Can you use your laptop at the same time it's mining, or will it like suck up all the energy while you're doing
you can decide, you can determine how much of the CPU you want to allocate. And so you can continue doing other things in the background and it just sits there passively running all the time. But of course, because CPUs so in mining, CPUs don't generate much in terms of mining power. The GPU is where all the mining power is really being applied for most coins. Okay. So in reality, if you're mining with CPU, it's going to take weeks or months before you're really making any money at all of any, consequence. But needless to say, it is kind of the ultimate in, passive income, because you're just sitting there with a PC running and you're doing nothing and you're getting a free couple of Moneros or a little tiny bit of Ether every here and there. And, it's better to have something than nothing. And if that coin goes up tenfold, well, then you make tenfold. So if you made $1, you make $10, or if you make €1, you make €10. So, something to be said. It's worth something. I haven't gone and looked at the electrical usage on the PC and then, looked to see whether or not I was burning more electricity than I was making money. But certainly, if you're going to be doing it at home, then you should be very conscious of how much electricity am I actually using doing this. Because it might not actually be worthwhile. And I hear a lot of people talking about, I can just download these little apps and I can use it for CPU mining. And I often say to people, I don't think you're going to make much from doing it that way. You should really look at using your GPUs on your PC if you can, if the cards are, good enough and they're in compliance with what MinerGate requires.
So how would you find that out on your on your CPU if it does like work in conjunction with what MinerGate requires?
So
Will they tell you?
On MinerGate software, there's two little green buttons that pop up on the software on the mining page. It's called Smart Miner is the tab.
Okay.
So in the Smart Miner tab, it'll say the balance of the coin you're mining.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shows a CPU mining box and a GPU mining box. And it tells you whether it's mining or not mining. And if you press play and it doesn't work, well, you'll know it right then.
Okay.
It's really, as I said, when you ask for simple, this is the ultimate simple. It's really, really, for simplicity, it's great. I really like their software. And I did mine a little bit of Monero, but, I haven't been able to withdraw it yet because I have to mine enough to be able to withdraw it still. And it just was taking forever.
Okay.
I think that's why I graduated to bigger things.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, let's talk about then. So what's the next level in this graduation process? I'm guessing it's building your own rig?
No, there's another level in between. So the next level up is actually what I would call the more technical route of what I described in the first two, where people, so the website that I like quite a lot is called NiceHash. And what NiceHash does is it allows people that have various mining equipment to loan their power up to others. And for those who want to just mine, you can basically rent that equipment online. So there it's more technical because you have to choose a number of factors. For example, you need to choose which algorithm you want to mine. Now, normally people won't know all the different algorithms, and we've not spoken about algorithms before. So now I've already gone into something more technical than what people are used to. So maybe I should step back for a second and just tell you what algorithms are. Would that make sense?
Yes, that'd be great.
Cool. So what happens is this, that not all coins run their calculations in the same way. There are a whole range of cryptographic algorithms that have been created that are effectively used for the efficiency, they're used for the security of that network, and there's a whole range of them. So SHA 256, which you won't have known because until I just told you this, is actually the algorithm for Bitcoin.
Oh, okay.
And there are other algorithms for other coins. There's a whole range of them. So there's Blake 2B, and there's what used to be called Dagger Hashimoto. It's now called something else. And there's just a whole range of different algorithms, and they all correspond to various coins. So when you go into NiceHash, so all you can see already why I struggled to get started with NiceHash, I had to figure out which algorithm I wanted to use to determine which coin I wanted to use. So whereas something like MinerGate makes it simple and they say this is the most cost efficient or the most profitable coin you can mine, on NiceHash you kind of pick whatever you want to mine and that's it. So the way NiceHash works is, first of all, you have to deposit some Bitcoin into their platform, because much like most platforms in the crypto world, Bitcoin is the underlying currency. And so, of course, NiceHash runs on Bitcoin. And once your Bitcoin is deposited, you can use that Bitcoin to pay for some mining power. And then you have to decide how much mining power you want to buy. And there's some other intricacies that go on around whether it's a variable or fixed amount of mining power that you're going to pay for. Fixed is more expensive, variable is less expensive, but variable doesn't guarantee that the mining power will run for the full 24 hours that you're paying for. And you have to keep refreshing it constantly, which is a bit of a pain. But on the other side of it, it's kind of fun and it's kind of interesting and it's different. So you're buying the mining power on NiceHash, but in fact you need to assign the mining power itself to a mining pool, because the mining pool is where the people collaborate together to run the transactions. So you're really getting deep into the thick of it now when you're using NiceHash, because you're literally exposed to the fact that you're using mining power, but the mining power has to be pooled with other people in order to get the benefits of finding the transactions, confirming them, and then the fees and the money that's made for the transactions are pooled and then distributed equally amongst all the people in that pool based on how much mining power they've supplied.
Okay.
So you can see I've already gone into like 10 levels deeper, but it's a really cool platform. It's just much more intense, but it's a great way to go, heads deep and figure out how it all works before you start trying to do it at home.
Yeah.
Because once I got to grips with how NiceHash works, and I understood the mining power is one half, the mining pool is another, but I need to provide my mining power to the mining pool in order to do the mining, then it all kind of became clear. And I was like, okay, I get it. So what I have at home will be mining power, and I need to either mine it by myself at home or assign it to a pool. And so whether you're mining with NiceHash and you're buying the mining power online, or you set up at home and you mine at home, it's effectively the same thing, just much easier to run at home, comparatively speaking, because the maintenance, at least for me, is a lot easier to just maintain at home.
Mm-hmm. When you were just learning about NiceHash, how did you build your expertise in it? Were there videos you were watching, or is it just trial and error is the best way to do that?
No, wow, yeah, that's interesting. So there were a couple of different things I was looking at. I didn't spend a lot of time on YouTube videos. I spent more time reading. Mm-hmm. And the reason being was that the difficulty or the intricacy with mining is understanding what hashing power is. So GPU power that's assigned is effectively like how much capacity or throughput you have to generate enough to mine more. So the more GPUs they have, the more throughput you can generate, and the more throughput you can generate, the more mining power or hash power you have. And that's what moves you up the value chain in terms of being able to earn more. So the more GPUs I have, the more hash power you have, the more hash power you have, the more mining you're doing, and therefore the more money you can make. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
It is a little bit messy. So what I started to realize was that the first two things that I realized when I was on NiceHash, they were kind of glaring me in the face, like, okay, you're just stupid. I'm like, I'm not stupid. I just can't figure out what the hell these things are. Two things. It took me some time, so maybe I'm not that bright. But anyway, no. So the two things were, one, a whole list of algorithms. I'm just like, I don't know what these algorithms are. How do I find out? And the second thing was to try to figure out, for each algorithm, you need different types of mining power. So for me, the trick was to try to work out, well, how do I determine how much mining power I need for that coin? And that's kind of where everything falls apart for people that are trying to get started in mining, because it's not really documented anywhere in a very, very succinct, clear, easy way. So that's where things like Medium articles start coming into hand, or Crypto Compare. Crypto Compare is a great website for this because they've got a whole section on mining, and you can start to look at things like, for each algorithm, if I use various types of GPU cards, what kind of mining power should I expect to get? How much money should I expect to make from it? And they are estimates, and it looks like gibberish the first 25 times you look at it, because you're looking at GHS, MHS, KHS, and you're like, what's the difference? And it's just the amount of hashes that you can do. Okay. But some algorithms, you generate more hashes than other algorithms in order to make the same amount of money. Okay. And it's really kind of irrelevant. It's all just linked to the algorithm. So if you're doing Bitcoin's not a good example because Bitcoin is not GPU-based mining. So let's park Bitcoin. But if you're doing Ethereum-based mining, it's all running on MHS. And there's other coins that you'll see that refer to KHS or GHS. Doesn't matter what GPU you have. When it gets down to it, it's just what that algorithm generates. So, more hashtags or less hashes for that card. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is whether or not you're able to generate enough hash power or transactions in order to actually make money.
Mm-hmm. So,
have I lost you?
No, you haven't. You haven't lost me.
But trying to break this down and make it simple. I know it's complicated, but I'm just trying to give people a flavor of it, and hopefully they're not switched off saying, oh God, this is too hard, because actually this is kind of the boundaries of what you need to know. And I don't think there's more than this that you need to know to kind of go the next step and start mining yourself if that's what you want to do.
Perfect.
Yuri, thank you. Today it's been it's taxed my brain trying to remember back to all these little hash things and algorithm things. It's been a lot of fun. I hope everyone's enjoyed this. Listen in next week where we take on part 2 of mining at home, and more details on mining to the moon. Until next time.